Welcome to a game between rifqifajarzain. He's facing off against Madcraft, starting here with Cloakyballs, while Rifqi is starting with Hovercrafts. And let the game begin. Yep, you can queue up metal extractors while you're starting the game. That way your commander won't be idle. So even before the game started, you can go to the tab here and place out mexes. Mexes are usually the first thing you want to put down after you build the factory. So you put down the factory and then you put up the mexes. And that way the commander won't be idle a second after the game has started. So yeah, that's a pretty nice feature that 0K has. That you can set up buildings before the game has started in that sense. And you're gonna be start with a very economic start. I like that you have your expanding units on high priority. That helps them expand a lot faster. And you're gonna play it pretty safe by placing a Lotus turret here, that's fine. Although you also have your commander here, but maybe you're gonna go out and expand with the commander too, yeah. Then it's good to have a Lotus turret, especially when I have made such an economic start as this. I see you're keeping the quills together, and that is, I mean, it means you're expanding a bit slower, but it's also a bit safer as you're gonna be able to build the Mexes further, and you can even build the Lotus turrets faster if you're in a pinch. Like, even some of the top level players do that, because if there comes a single raider here, if you have just one quill, they might not be able to finish a turret. But with two, you can almost guaranteedly place down a turret if there comes a lone raider or if you see raiders on radar. And I see here and you got that little raider. Yeah, the enemy is going pretty raiding heavy and also making a lot of energy. So yeah, dealing with glaives can be a little bit tricky in low numbers because it takes 3 shots to kill a glaive, and if you don't manage to finish the glaive, it's gonna regenerate its health, meaning it's gonna be back on full health. So yeah. And here in this situation that you want to place down a turret, you could probably stay here and place down a turret, but you're gonna choose to retreat instead. Which is, I mean, you'd still had 2 daggers here, so 2 daggers could have dealt with this glaive easily. And the glaives are a bit slow down here. This is why I usually favor hovers or ant spots on this map compared to other land factories, because glaives are slower in this water. Yeah, and this is a little tricky, like you don't get quite a turret up, but it looks like this glaive is kind of distracted by the other units. And you lose, not too bad, you lose 1 constructor and 1 dagger, not too bad. Oh, and you're still trying to do some harassment here, that's nice. Like, seeing this cloaked conjurers can be hard because they can be all over the place, you don't really know where they are. So now you're stalling a bit on energy. Like I would recommend, yeah, you're starting to build energy here, but you're probably gonna excess a bit of metal. That's something that you can practice on starting to build, balancing your energy a bit more efficiently, so you don't end up wasting metal or something like that. Yeah, now you're entering somewhat of a metal excess, so you can see here your metal excess started up here. And that's something you want to try to avoid, so yeah. Like, you have the commander here building, as you see, as your metal income is starting to surge, you can place down a few solar collectors next to these mexes with your commanders. Yeah. And at this point it gets a bit tricky since you're behind now in production. You're gonna have trouble getting enough daggers to counter these glaives. But daggers, they are a pretty good counter to glaives if you have enough numbers. So yeah, being able to like go in and tree-shot the glaive once you have groups, it's pretty good. You can basically rely on daggers a lot against cloaky bots. So I personally like to spam daggers a lot against cloaky bots. Like, see, this lone dagger even killed a Ronin. Ronins aren't doing much against the daggers. Yeah, and at this point it looks pretty good for you. You have this lone glaive. Like, do you have any radar here? Not quite. Getting a radar, this map has a bit of hills, so getting a radar on this position is good because then it's not blocked by the terrain. If you build a radar here, I think it might be blocked by that little hill. So yeah, building a radar there, or there, or there, that is pretty good so you can see a radar like this. On the other hand, you have turrets at most of the places here, so it's kinda safe. And yeah, you're expanding pretty well. You can see here. Yeah, you're a bit behind since you were stalling metal for a while there. You excess 900 metal, that's a lot. Like if you look at the difference between metal produce and metal use, yeah, the enemy's ahead because they were able to use their metal. But yeah, you're stabilizing now with almost enough energy to match your metal. Yeah, so at this point you have started making caretakers, and that is good. I think you can make a few more caretakers, like having 2 or 3 caretakers in this situation would be good. Yeah, and it looks like the enemy is gonna try to defend this area pretty well. Like, you can go... Let's see how this little group battle goes. You lose 1 dagger, 2 daggers, but yeah, you kill more glaives. The alpha damage, being able to tree-shot the glaives, is pretty good later in the game when you have like more daggers. Also, the daggers can potentially multi-hit glaives, so if there's a bunched up group of glaives, yeah, they're gonna risk taking a lot of damage from the daggers. And at this position, you could easily go in here and threaten the factories, or go back here where there's no defense. But yeah, scouting here would be good for you. But more importantly, now you're accessing metal again. You're accessing plus 15 metal per second. Because yeah, you're starting to make more build power now, but you have a lot of idle cons that could either be guarding the factory, or yeah, building more caretakers. So you have enough build power potentially to use it if you use this quill to just guard the factory. So yeah, would you risk going here? I would say it would be a pretty good decision to risk going here. Like, the most threatening thing you can face is an imp. Like, you can be stunned by an imp, but not all players. I mean, a tick. Yeah, the imp is called imp rare. So yeah, that's the most thing. But if you just spread out them a bit like this, yeah, you can avoid most ticks. And then you can like prod and check out what the enemy has here. If you have spotted these defenses, yeah, you won't attack this defense. It's really hard to make cost against that. But yeah, going around the hills can be tricky. You can go through here, but yeah, it's tricky. And the enemy is gonna have an easy time reinforcing here while you're kind of getting stuck on the trees and the slopes and everything. So yeah, attacking there is kind of hard. But yeah, the glaives are slowed down here, so you can easily outmaneuver them and shoot them at angles. So yeah, just having all your daggers here, like, this is a perfect position in this matchup. Being here when the enemy is slowed down and you have the water, that's perfect for you. That's where you want to be. You're still making pretty good cost here. You would just need to reinforce them. You can easily like take this battle. So yeah, if you look at the value killer, yeah, you got a bit ahead there by killing more than enemy. So now you spot the first knight, I guess, and knights, they're... I mean, you have scalpels, they're pretty good at countering knights. You can probably push through with this and kill the knight cost effectively. It's something I would do in this position. And yeah, the scalpel can kite these knights pretty well. Yeah. So with the hover mobility advantage on water, you can deny this expansion or even take it for yourself. Like you have some cons here that you're reclaiming, that's pretty well worth. And you're sending more forwards. So taking these mexes and being able to control this area would be really good for you. Looks like the enemy is gonna try the expander and there's not much you can do there except walking your commander there. Oh, you're investing heavily into defense here. I guess since you were accessing metal, you needed to spend your metal on something anyway. So I guess that's a decent choice. Still, you can still add a caretaker or another factor here. I mean a hover or a plate rather. How bad was your second? Yeah, you accessed about 500 metal the second time. And the enemy is gonna make a phantom. But yeah, you're kind of pushing pretty well. And if you're paying attention now, you should be able to hear this phantom. Like being aware that the enemy has a phantom is important. But at this position, you basically have all the units that you can counter it with. You have a lot of daggers, although you're losing some of these scalpels here. Like, scalpels don't have that much range advantage against knights, so yeah. I would keep these daggers close by so you can just overrun these knights. Like at this position, halberd seems a bit excessive. You can stick to daggers and scalpels at this point, and they will counter most of the factory units that the shield bots can make. Basically all of them. So I mean, daggers and scalpels is a pretty good combo against shield bots, I mean cloak bots. And you are expanding here now, so that's good. Yeah. So the snipers are doing a little bit of work, but they don't really have any cost, like high value targets they can attack right now. Like at this point, attacking here is a bit risky. I would much rather focus on this side, because there's absolutely no defense on that side. And yeah, instead you're gonna lose most of your army, not... Oh, you don't even kill the stinger, that's kinda sad, yeah. Yeah, so that's gonna mean you're behind now. Like, that trade was really bad for you, and you left a lot of reclaim at the enemy's position. Using this army here would have been much better instead. Like, you could have completely overran this position and maybe even pushed through the base. I recommend having some daggers close by to scalpels, because they prevent like lone glaives coming through and killing the scalpels when they're low in health. It's a bit of a micro, like it takes quite a bit of micro. Are you gonna lose your commander here? No, you pay enough attention, that's good. Yeah, you have this is how much metal? You have spent almost 2000 metal there. If we look at the previous engagement, yeah, you did pretty badly there when you attacked that position. Yeah. So now your attrition is starting to look bad, and you're starting to fall behind. You're being overrun by glaives, basically. Yeah, it is a question, do you add maces or do you stick to scalpel mace? If you have good dagger micro, you can definitely stick to daggers and scalpels. But yeah, as far as I've seen, you have a little hard time. Like sometimes your scalpels are separated and they're overrun by the glaives. So that is something to be careful about. And now you're attacking with 2 small forces into a large enemy force. And that's not a good position to be in. So yeah, at this point, yeah, you basically need to regroup. I guess there's a lot of reclaim here worth fighting for, yeah. Yeah, you can see how these glaives are just overrun in the scalpels after they're shot. You need to have a bigger army and use your daggers better if you... Otherwise, if you're not gonna micro dagger that well, I would recommend mixing in a mace or 2 every now and then. It's pretty good against glaives in most units, really. And you're both starting to overdrive quite a bit. But yeah, the enemy snipers are starting to pay off. Yeah, halberds don't do too much, like, they're not that good compared to daggers in this situation. Like, they miss glaives, they barely hurt knights. And yeah, if you want to overrun a sniper, you can do that with daggers as well, so yeah. Daggers would just have been much better in this position. I don't think you're getting much value from your halberds. Like, they have... if you are used to using Ravagers, they only have higher health when they're close. Otherwise, they have less health, and they don't have much range, and won't really hit the enemy. Here, the enemy is trying to do a little run by, and you have some daggers, but yeah, you're not sending them here. Being able to have a group of daggers to react to the glaives would be real good. Like, daggers can finish off glaives easily. Yeah, and all this expensive defense that you paid for, yeah, it's getting shot down by slings here. Yeah, and you mixed in a mace here, and that's gonna help against glaives. But I guess mace is also a pretty good value target for phantoms if they're exposed, so yeah. Yet again, you're gonna almost push through here, but not quite. And here comes a lance, and it's gonna target what? Lance is pretty good at taking down stingers, yeah. But at this point it might be too late for that. Yeah, you can see how far behind the value you have gotten. Like, mostly from value killed. I guess the enemy also spent a lot on overdrive. Yeah, the enemy spent a lot of overdrive. But they also spent, like, it's basically paid back by now. They also spent a lot of more in economy than you did, so it's kinda even. But their overdrive is starting to kick in now. And at this point your lances are exposed, like they're getting spotted, and they're getting killed by the slings and phantoms. So yeah, that can be tricky to get right. Like being able to screen the lances more. You also upgraded your commander. That's about 2000 metal into that commander. And you have I'm not too confident. I haven't seen it used so far, so I guess that was kind of unnecessary to spend 2000 metal into this commander. Like, it hasn't done anything as far as I can see. The enemy has also upgraded the commander though. But this is also the first time I see it shoot, basically. Yeah, and now that you don't have any screens from the daggers, yeah, the phantoms are getting your maces. Yeah, but Hellbears alone are just getting run down by these waves. Yeah, there's a lot of reclaim in that area now. And here you're trying to use lances alone. That's very risky, especially when the enemy has phantoms around. And the enemy has even have metal to spend on a shield wall now. Lances can get down the shields though, potentially. And you lose the commander there as well. Like, being able to drain the shield ball with halberds and lances is pretty good actually. But then you need something to finish them off with, and yeah, I guess you're too far behind at this point. Yeah, so if we look at back, remember to build energy a little bit earlier. Like you can see, your enemy was far ahead on you and energy, and then you also excess metal because of that. And that put you, yeah, you excess first, almost, what was it, like 900 metal, and then another 500. That's pretty big. Like, you had more metal produced for a large part of the game, but you didn't manage to use your metal. And yeah, you did have some good trades early on with your daggers and scalpels, but then you attacked into that position against the stingers up here, and that was just a really bad trade. Like, the enemy had almost no defense at this side. If you had just pushed all these units here instead, it would have been much better for you. Like, being able to get here and kill mexes here. Yeah. And being able to reclaim here as well would have been really good. You had a lot of build power, and you were expanding at this position, so yeah, that was good. Yeah. And the thing about your composition, like scalpels and daggers, work well in this matchup pretty much throughout all the game. But you need to be careful with your micro. So if you always have the daggers close by to the scalpels, you can do a lot of good trades with the scalpels if you protect them. But also consider, like, mixing in some, if you feel you can't quite handle it, mixing in some maces could be good. But then also if you go pure mace, the enemy can counter it with snipers, with the phantoms. So in that position, yeah, then you can maybe use halberds if you want to distract the enemy. But yeah, but you can also distract the enemy with daggers and screen your screen your maces. So yeah, the enemy we were investing into shields. Against that, you probably don't want to go lances. You just want to try to avoid an attack at another position. Yeah, but otherwise lances are really good if there's no shields. You just one-shot stingers, and then you can advance with few losses. So yeah, those are my tips for you. Good luck and have fun.